Signs and signals that Bitcoin may be in process of forming a bottom. Are there signals that Bitcoin crash has bottomed and we're about to push up? What is happening with altcoins? We've got some major news coming out this week for the crypto market. Let's get into it. We got some guests popping in today. We got to talk about what is happening with this market, what levels we should be watching for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other top altcoins. Get active, get involved in the live chat. Let us know that you're alive. Are you bullish or bearish between now and the end of this week? Or do you think it's just going to be chopped? Let's see what your answers are in the live chat, or comment down below if you're watching later. We are live on YouTube. We are live on X. Bitcoin, altcoins, crypto signals, breakdowns, news, and more. Let's get into it. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. We are here back another day in the charts. We got a lot of things going on with what's going on in the market right now, looking at this area that the price action has come right down and sort of bounced on, essentially what I would call the bullish bounce zone. If we are able to bounce here and actually push up and hold above this area, we are very likely going to start seeing signs for this to push up. But what signs, what signals, what data is suggesting that we might be in store for having the bottom, which is what we're all waiting on? We're ready for the markets to push to the upside. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be going through a number of signals here in the next few minutes, breaking down exactly what's going on. I still have this red box down here, basically in the 60 to 67, 60 to $68,000 region, of which if price action does move down here, this could be a liquidation washout zone to trap people short, only to reverse and go back to the upside. We got to pay attention to what's going on and remind ourselves that if we're looking at this on the 3-day chart, zoomed out on this, we can see that the price action has been very bullish since all the way back here in January of 2023. We had the ETFs go live right on this date, little washout. We had the 7-month sideways price action, and all we're doing right now is large push up, a revisit back, test where the bulls can come in. So regionally in this zone, we are still looking very good. So as you tune in here, as you drop in, if you're watching this now or later, let me know, comment down below. Where do you think price is going to be this time next year? Are you of the opinion that we're going to have a regular cycle and maybe we even chop through the summer, but have the market cycle top sometime in October, November? Do you think we may get a longer cycle where we just have these large, very quick moves up and then long periods, or sometimes medium to short, but longer periods than we want, of sideways consolidation like we see right in here before that next move up? Sideways consolidation, this is a bit shorter. So are we going to repeat this with long accumulation, very quick move, short accumulation, very quick move, long accumulation, very quick move? Is this going to be short or long? And then furthermore, how long is this cycle going to be before we top out? Because there's signals that suggest that we could have 18 months even from right now for this price action to continue just stair-stepping to the outside. So let's look at the data. Let's talk about what's going on, because I'm so excited for where we're at in this market and what is to come. So let's get into it. First up, we've got, actually, I think I already closed. Yeah. First up, we've got the whale games going on in the market. And that's what I wanted to highlight first off. Everybody in this market is here to make money, whether they're a whale, an institution, a corporation, a government, or all of us little plankton here trying to just float next to the whales and not get gobbled up in our emotional trading, giving our capital away. And this right here from Altcoin Gordon, he broke this down. The whale with the $380 million Bitcoin short has added to it. This was yesterday. His new liquidation is 86,005. He's since added to that and brought that level down. And I said this, I said, whale games on Bitcoin. Question is, will it have follow through to go further up? If we do push up, they're essentially looking to activate people to push up to liquidate those positions. So the question here is, even if we were to get up there to liquidate, would it just be a bull trap before prices go to the downside, or will we be able to actually have bullish follow through and push up and continue on from the levels that we're, basically pushing up into? The problem right now is people are so biased and needy for the price to be at the level they want, whether it be a bull or a bear. right now, especially bulls, we get so upset that the price action doesn't just immediately go to the upside. If we are bullish, then right now, if Bitcoin goes lower, I just keep stacking with gratitude. That's the mindset we should have based on the incredible bullish framework that is setting up the future of not only this market, but all of these blockchain technologies getting integrated and layered into the future. This is what I'm so excited about right now. So we saw the whale games with the short. Then this morning we saw basically those shorts get lifted and then re-added to, and now we have other players out here. Here's Crypto Beast says, this is a call to all crypto millionaires. I'm building a team of whales to liquidate the guy who went short on $400 million. So with $400 million short. So there's a lot of people getting activated. Is it FUD? Is it a news story? Well, let's look at the other data because all of this is noise. This is noise. And I'm not calling Crypto Beast or Altcoin Gordon. It's not that. It's that we get so hyper-focused on the thing that is the reason why it's going to go up or go down. But what does the data say? Well, looking at this chart right here, this data, Abu Dhabi, remember, we are on the world stage now with the race, and some of it's going to be silent and stealth, and not everything that's going to happen is going to be on the, top of every news broadcast and everything going on. There are hundreds and hundreds, if not into the thousands of billionaires at this point. There are tens of thousands of millionaires. No, that's not correct because there are millions of millionaires. There's about 44 or 50 million millionaires globally. And so not everything with the large buying and the stacking and what the Bitcoin strategy is going to be on some major news headline. There's going to be so much silent stacking. When you see the U.S. Institute, the executive order for the Bitcoin strategic reserve, and also this crypto stockpile that they talk about, the fact that we have the digital asset meeting at the White House, not only, a week ago, we have another one coming up next week. We have the FOMC meeting happening starting tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll get I don't think we're going to get a rate cut, but the discussion, potential idea about when we're going to start to stop quantitative tightening, what the action plan is going to go for, which people will start pricing in with bullish buys. And then we also see other places like Abu Dhabi that's been stacking into their sovereign wealth fund. And here we see a 460 million additional buy. We also saw Michael Saylor add to his position over the weekend. It was about 120 Bitcoin. But they've got $21 billion essentially earmarked for Bitcoin buying. And people are worried here. It's just ridiculous to me because then we also talk about liquidity. All as red as this is so damn green for what this story is. China's mapping out a plan to raise incomes and boost consumption, AKA printing, AKA stimulus to consumers, which inevitably finds its way into the market or market buying pressures. So this is what we're so excited about, and understanding that we may be coming into a bottom. Another strong Bitcoin buy signal here from Alpha Extract from the Liquidity Fair Oscillator Pulse. So what we're looking at here is basically the oscillation of liquidity coming into the market or becoming available to the market and basically being removed, basically putting pressures on the market. The last time this green bar signaled was way over here. Where was this? The market cycle bottom before this massive run. Now, I'm not suggesting we're going to get this same run again. The point being the buy pressure, the conditions for which this signal flashes, the last time it flashed was here, which started the bull run. The time before that was here where the bull run tried to end and the conditions were set up to actually get that final impulse that actually took us to the all-time high. Same thing that happened right here, 2020, right after the COVID crash. Boom. What we see, this was a setup for, yes, some sideways consolidation, but ultimately the continuation of the run. Also right here before this smaller run, but then we had the global catastrophe. Also right here at the market cycle bottom. So this is super exciting to see potential bottoming setup for the price. Now, bottoming setup, looking at the price, looking at a chart like this, looking at on-chain data, understanding what's coming does not mean that we're going to have a 40% push up today or tomorrow, even this week, maybe not even throughout the rest of this month. Regionally, we're setting up the condition to have the bullish buy, the pressure come in, the strength, the confidence to have follow through. But it all starts with the seed, and it still needs to get watered. It still needs to germinate in order for it to push through the dirt, to break free with that bullish just beanstalk pushing to the heavens. That's what we're all waiting on. So we want to stack what conditions are setting up so that we can have with confidence that we are going to move bullish. Now, this is suggesting that I lost my mouse there, but we also, as we talked about with China, this uptick in liquidity, which we've been tracking for some time now. Uptick in liquidity, is directly correlated, directly tied to also when we've had major push-ups in Bitcoin. Now, we've had Bitcoin selling off here a bit, but this is also lagging behind the sell-off we already saw, the reduction in global liquidity. Now we're seeing this uptick in global liquidity, which does indicate with this correlation that in the near future that we will likely see buying pressure. Now, we can't be overly exuberant and overly excited about this in this moment. We're just seeing one of the conditions that we're looking for to start really identifying whether you're a short-term trader or long-term trader. Identify the conditions for which this midterm to short-term time frame where we're seeing bearish pressures, when is that going to flip to basically full bull? That's what we're trying to identify here. And we're going to be diving in with Matthew Hyland here in a few minutes, but I got a couple more things I want to show you because there's more data. And there is a lot of bullish data here, even in the face of this frustrating moment. So my question to everybody right now, as you're filtering in, we got, several hundred people watching right now. Everybody hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ding the bell, and let me know in the live chat. Do you think we've kind of hit regionally the area in that the upper 70s of the bottom? Are we in the bottoming zone? Meaning, and I would even classify this even with another dip down to, let's say, 74, 75 from here and then continue up. Basically, from the 74 to where we're at now, do you think that we are in that bottoming territory where we're about to see a very strong bullish reversal to buying pressure? It's hard to call when you still haven't had the conditions of just full bull buys coming in. But the point of investing, the point of trading, to really dominate it is to help to allow yourself to identify conditions leading to a change so you can take advantage of them in the most risk-adjusted way while also early enough to where you can really see max gains. Now, some people try to jump it every time you get a wick. They go, that's the bottom, and then it drops further and they sell. That's not how you make money in this market. If you have conviction at a level, then you identify what your strategy is to enter. And if it drops below that, if you're still convinced of that move, then you can add to your position and lower your average entry because we're seeing conditions starting to stack up in a way that I can't ignore. We talked back on December 13th. I did the video and I actually screenshot it, put it on my Twitter about that possible move when we were pushing up into the 90s, into the hundreds, about the move down to about $75,000 to $77,000. Now we've gotten that. The question is, are we going to double tap that, or are you a bear thinking that we're going to break through that and go below? Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. We got a couple more things to look at that we're bringing on Mr. Matthew Hyland. We also have this from actually me and Matt's friend here. We met him in person. Wonderful guy. On-chain college says, and just like that, my favorite Bitcoin momentum indicator is bouncing off support and rising. Now, SOPR, what are these random, what's this random alphabet soup? This is the adjusted spent output profit ratio. So essentially, you're taking a ratio of people that are moving coins, if they're moving them at a loss from where they entered or moving them at a gain from where they entered, and the ratio of all coins that are being traded in that regard. This has been a fairly good reversal point when this comes down into the zone for price action to start to move up. Now, as you can see here, price did move sideways for some time after this, but this is also, you guys remember that August 4th, August 5th crash? Right after that is when we had that large move up from, here in the 40s and 50s all the way up here into the 100 pluses. So are we starting to see that? Well, this is another ingredient in that mixture of a potential reversal signal starting to heat up. Then we got this, the aggregated open interest of Bitcoin futures. Now, this is going to piss you off if you don't understand this. Most people in the market are inadvertently a data point of where the counter trade is to be made. Meaning, what you look at essentially when everybody's betting short, and especially when it's been a positive, interest rate, meaning It's a positive interest rate when everybody's going long, so it costs more money to go long on leverage. It's a negative interest rate when everybody or the majority is flipping short, so it costs more money to trade short on leverage. Now, when you're in a period of bullishness and it's all bullish and you get your interest rates going higher and higher on that, that means there's more and more people going long. Now, in a moment of a dip, what happens is you have this moment of kind of confusion. People are still going long, and then it finally exhausts all the dumbasses out there that are just aping into every move. And you get the interest rate to finally collapse back to negative because the bulls gave up and people start flipping short. And in a strong bull trend, when you get that flip, a lot of times it can indicate this is that basically you've flushed out the open interest, you flushed out the market of all the over leveraged confidence, and it ends up setting up a wonderful, can be a very wonderful buying opportunity. And then we see right here, the Bollinger Bands. For those of you that don't know, Bollinger Bands are essentially a measure over the last 20 period. So if you're looking at the daily chart, it's over the last 20 days. If you're looking at, in this case, it's a weekly chart. This center line is a moving average of the last 20 weeks. Now, Bollinger Bands are 2 standard deviations of the price action over the last 20 period. So essentially what you're seeing is when things have been volatile, you see how this price action has been relatively in the same zone, and these Bollinger Bands get tighter and tighter and tighter. This means that the average volatility is shrinking. Basically, it's not volatile at all. Well, everything in the market is cyclical. So when you get a lot of volatility, you get the cyclical move back to a constriction in volatility, and then you get the explosion out of the volatility. Now, that's not a directional indicator. It just talks about explosive moves down to consolidative moves. So look, large move up. This is riding the upper band. And so what do you see? You see the Bollinger Band width getting wider and wider. Now down here, this is the same measurement, but rather than having the bands, when this is very high, the bands are further apart. When this gets tighter, you see this comes down to get smaller. See how as tight as this gets? You see how low this is? Now, although a constriction of Bollinger Bands can mean the explosive movement is coming, it doesn't mean it has to happen immediately. In this case, look, we saw 112 days sideways of constriction. Here we saw 84 days sideways of this tight constrictive move before the breakout. In this case here, again, this is not directional. We're kind of coming down into that zone where we're getting a tightness of that volatility back down to basically a setup for a large move to come. Now, beyond that, this is another liquidity signal from TechDev, and I actually really like this. This gives us a potential indication that maybe things are changing a little bit in terms of this 4-year cycle that has to play out. And in this case, we see this is fired twice before in the last 9 years. Both times, Bitcoin continued up for 18 months after. Where was this? Boom, right here. This is nice. I mean, this was basically the substantiation of bullishness and then the actual parabolic move forming. Okay, here we go. We had the sort of false move up, basically the global washout here from COVID. And then right here, this was just a nice, beautiful move up. And this is just rounding out a bit again. Now, one of the things that I'm sure we're going to talk about with Matthew here in a second is, and this is funny, and I actually like this. This is from Willie Woo. He says, the Bitcoin chart that matters the most right now. And what chart is this? This is S&P 500. There's RSI of the S&P 500. Now, what does he mean by Bitcoin chart? There's a very strong correlation recently as it relates to tech stocks and also markets and Bitcoin. Now, everybody's wondering if we're crashing here and maybe it's a bear market in total. Well, we've got a massive hidden bullish divergence on the S&P 500. We have a huge shakeup geopolitically right now, especially in the U.S. and it's also the world over because of the tariff trade war that's going on, which I'm still of the opinion is a very, very sharp negotiation tactic Trump is using that is also bringing the markets down on purpose. Why? Because we have the FOMC meeting this week. Why? Because we have $7 trillion in debt that we need to refinance in the next 6 months. We can't do that at current federal funds rate. So now we're kicking it into gear for Jerome Powell to I don't think he's going to cut tomorrow, but start the discussion about giving us that forward-looking hopium about what the quantitative tightening ending strategy is going to be and what the pathway may be back to basically net zero or quantitative easing. This is what is exciting about the market. But the flip side about that is at the same time, we're seeing a worse setup than we saw in 2008 with the subprime data for houses. During the subprime housing crisis, I mean, look at this. 2007, just before the housing collapse, this percentage was only at 35%. Nearly half of what it is now at 35%. 35%. We're at 64%. Share of borrowers with debt to income ratios of greater than 43%, meaning people are living underwater in debt. So, as bullish as I am, I still have to pay attention to what's going on in the broader ecosystem. And while I don't think that's going to be the immediate catastrophe that post kind of alludes to, we just need to be aware of the ingredients that are around this beautiful bullish dish that we're trying to make. So with that being said, we got our boy in the wings here. I kept him waiting a little bit longer than I intended, but is Kev's not here, so it's just my boy, Mr. Matthew Highland. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Kelly? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm trying not to be exhausted with this price action, not doing what I want it to do. But what are you looking at? What are you seeing on the charts? Let me pull this up. 1 second. There we go. That's not you. There we go. Let's see what you're looking at, baby. Should we be worried? Are we taking it day by day?
I think it's waiting at this point for the FOMC meeting. We just don't have much over the past few days. I was watching kind of on the 4-hour time frame over the past few days. You've been following me on Twitter. There was this inverse head and shoulders pattern. It needed to stay above this area, which was around 83.8K to keep it in track or keep it there. But it wasn't validated over the weekend. It closed below. But there hasn't been any sort of follow through. This price action is really just probably trapping a lot of leverage traders right now. It goes up and then it goes down and then it goes up and then it goes down and it goes up. And a lot of people are taking shorts here, thinking it's going to go down. A lot of people are taking longs, thinking it was going to go up. It hasn't really resolved itself. And today's Monday and the FOMC is on Wednesday. So at this point, I kind of just think that this is going to just chop tomorrow or into tonight, into tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we'll kind of get some sort of move after the FOMC. Obviously, during the FOMC, it usually chops a lot as well. We get those crazy swings. And a lot of it really probably just comes down to what Powell says. We don't know if he's going to be hawkish. We don't know if he's going to be dovish. And I think the market is kind of waiting on that. The market wants to know how the Fed is going to view the next few months, if they're going to end quantitative tightening. I know a lot of people do expect that at this point. It's like highly favorable that by probably May or June, quantitative tightening is probably going to end. So that would be a shift. We've never had any sort of alt bull market without quantitative tightening. It's either been no quantitative tightening.
Here's a weird thing though. Here's a weird thing though. I think we're all so hyper focused, and I get that the U.S. is a liquidity hub of the world, but we're seeing massive indications of money printing going on in China. And we also just saw that they're basically going to be providing stimulus essentially to their consumers to boost consumption. So on the one hand, even if we have a few more months and everything going on with the US, we are seeing liquidity starting to pour in Asian markets. And, we're seeing the interest rates come down in Europe. So it feels like this time is different, right? But it also feels like, man, the ingredients this time have to be weighed so much differently, but it's still the same. But it's like, it feels like it can be, I mean, I'm confused half the time, and I do this all day, every day. Like, how do we make sense of this?
Well, the other thing too is the M2 money supply as well, which is the United States money supply. This is updated to, I think this is January. So the next time this updates, this probably is going to be at all-time highs, I would think, for the March or the February update and then the March update. I'm pretty sure this is going to be breaking a new all-time high. So the money supply is increasing. It went through its only significant pullback ever right here over the past few years. It went down. If you look back historically, there isn't anything like that historically at all. There was no pullbacks. Like there's these little slowdowns, but it's always constantly gone up. So this looks like it's ready to continue upward. And I would think, I mean, it's hard to like chart M2. I'm not going to try to chart M2. This is obviously just monetary driven. But you would think after a big dump on any type of thing and it breaks to new all-time highs, the next move up should be pretty face melting, I would think. So I think that this is probably, once when this starts to break out, this is going to take off. I don't know how you would even measure this or kind of guess where this is heading, but I think this is definitely wanting to go higher over the coming months and years. So that will be back to how it was back in 2017 and 2021. If you go back to 2017, this was going up the whole time. And you go back to 2021, this was going back, or this was going up. And this really has been going up actually since May or February of 2023. So at that point, actually, Bitcoin was starting to move up at that point. So it hasn't really required this to go up for Bitcoin to go up, but probably for the alt, it'll probably be better once when this breaks out. If we go back to Bitcoin, let's see on the weekly time frame. So if you look at the weekly time frame, and we went over this, it broke below the support level on the weekly close, which was below $89,000. The next support is down here. This is in this kind of range, I'd say, between approximately 74 to 69,000. This area, it would make sense for Bitcoin to come down there at some point, but it's also possible that Bitcoin doesn't give what everyone wants. I know a lot of people are expecting it, and I would actually probably favor it. I would say it's greater chance, more than 50-50, that's going to come down to that level. But if you go back to like the bear market, for example, if you go back here to the bear market, everyone thought when it was down here at 15.5K that it was going to go down to this 13.9K high from June of 2019. And it got close to it, but it never actually went there. It was like 5% off, give or take, I think, or 10% off. So it was very close, but it never reached it. A lot of people were waiting for the support to get hit. So sometimes Bitcoin doesn't always give what everyone wants. So if everyone wants Bitcoin to go to 70, 73K, maybe it goes below that area, or it just doesn't go there at all. A lot of people are eyeing that, including myself. Like I'm eyeing that. That's like the next level that makes sense. If you look at the weekly RSI, at this point, it's at its lowest point since, if you look at this close right here, if you zoom in, let me move this up. This close last week was the lowest close since January of 2023, which is way back here on the chart. Way back here. This was when we just exited, when we started to exit the bear market. So the weekly RSI has reached its lowest level. So this is definitely an extreme sell-off. But a lot of these indicators are breaking to new lows. You look at the stock market as well.
Well, that would make a massive hidden bullish divergence too, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So it actually closed in the green. But the one thing I've found over the past few years is you need to see more of this V shape, right? If you look at this zoomed out, it's like a little nudge. So I'd say if Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin came up this week and closed, let's say at like 85 or 87K, this RSI would go up higher and then create that bullish divergence. So there would be weekly bullish divergence if Bitcoin can close in the green. Usually if you get two green candles in a row, two green candles in general, whether it be weekly, daily, 4 hour, it usually makes that V shape. When it's just one, it's just like a little nudge. But so it does have the opportunity to make bullish divergence, which is an interesting like setup, because let's say it does close up here around, let's say like 86 or 87K, and it's making weekly bullish divergence right below support. I would think like for that to play out at that point, it'd be the first bullish divergence or weekly bullish divergence in a long time. I don't even think we really had it. I would say, let's see. Let me zoom in a little bit. I think this was the last one. So if you look back to last summer, right? This weekly RSI, this was back in September on the September low. It closed below on the weekly time frame. It made a lower low below the August 2023 lows. And then from there, that marked the bottom, actually. It made bullish divergence. And once when it made bullish divergence here, it shot up, right? And that's when it began its run all the way up to approximately 110K. Bitcoin had closed that weekly around 54K. So it went up 100% from where this RSI weekly close had taken place below. So yeah, it's very similar now that this RSI is below this one, and as well as this one as well. it does have a very similar setup. It doesn't mean it will play out the same way, but it's definitely like at that area where it has sold off a lot, and the weekly RSI does show that. And if it makes bullish divergence right below this support, I would think like on the weekly time frame, especially when you make bullish divergence, that means a like much larger move is coming overall, whether it be bearish divergence or bullish divergence. If you look at the top here, there was bearish divergence as well, and it kind of led to this sell off up here. RSI made a lower low while price made a higher low, and it led to the sell off. This would probably give it like weeks, if not months, of upside. I would think it would probably give it enough to push up to this 110K range. So there's a lot of ways that could play out, right? Let's say we make a bullish divergence this week. It could always wick back down to this area down at 73K and then come back up. But I would say if we get weekly bullish divergence, then there is a strong possibility that over the coming weeks or months that this is going to end up breaking back up. And if it were to, it would break back above the support. If we go to the S&P 500, similar look too. This is on the weekly time frame. So last week, actually, when the S&P 500 was down here, it had ended up closing higher. It wicked down here. This weekly RSI was actually below where it was back in 2023 as well. It was lower than this, but it's currently above because it closed higher. But this was actually the lowest it had been since, I think, back here. Actually, I think it was even lower. No, it was back here from October of 2022. So it basically reset back to where it was at the very bear market bottom right here. So the stock market definitely getting there. I think the stock market has a little bit more to go here. If you look, it would make sense, right? This support right here, it would make sense for the weekly RSI to go below this area, close below it, and then make that bullish divergence at some point. So this area between 5,400, this is on the S&P 500, and approximately 5,100 seems like the likely area. And that doesn't mean that crypto will, completely, sell off here, because if you look at total two, let me see if I can find this. You look at total two. Let me remove this and put this up against the S&P 500. We'll go to the daily time frame. Let me see. Put the S&P 500. It always does this. Let me change this to candlesticks. I have to save this actually. Save as default. So if you let me get rid of the RSI as well. Total two is everything but Bitcoin essentially. So it's the broader crypto market. If you look, since the early February capitulation, when we had that huge capitulation that day, this is actually in the green. So we're up over the past month. Since February 3rd, total two is in the green. So the broader altcoin market, except Bitcoin, is in the green since February 2nd. But if you look at the stock market since February 2nd has dropped a lot. So the stock market has been dropping, but the crypto market has been holding up during that time, which is interesting. But usually, historically, if you go back, typically the stock market has always bottomed after crypto. Let me try to go to the weekly time frame on this to show this. I'd have to look for more data points, but if you look right here, for example, so this was the bear market back in 2018. Crypto bottomed right here. This was early December it bottomed, but the stock market didn't bottom until the end of December. So the crypto bottomed before the stock market back here in the bear market. Then if you go to 2020, let me try to zoom in so you guys can see this. If you go to 2020 as well, when we had that crash, crypto bottomed on this weekly candle, but the stock market didn't bottom for two more weekly candles. So once again, crypto bottomed before stocks. And then if you go to the bear market of 2022, this thing does not like me. You go here. So crypto bottomed right here. This was June of 2022. But if you look, the stocks didn't bottom until October of 2022. So most of the time, right, when you start to see the stock market go down further, but crypto is not going down further, has not, is not being pulled down with the stock market, that's usually a decent sign. You have to really look though, like in between these, like during the bear market, to see exactly what happened. But the crypto market has held up for the past month, while stocks have dropped for the past month. And Bitcoin has also, if you go to the Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin bottomed or it had that low way back here, it did sweep below it, but the stock market has been going down essentially since then. So Bitcoin is in the green since February 26th, while the stock market is down since that time frame, and that's now what three or 4 weeks almost now. So the stock market has been going down for 3 to 4 weeks, while Bitcoin is up during that time period. So not a bad sign for crypto and Bitcoin. Obviously, we don't know exactly. If the stock market starts to completely start to nuke down, then I would think that crypto probably hasn't bottomed yet. But for now, let me close up Bitcoin's chart. Right, let me go back to S&P
on that
500.
note, I'd love to ask you about this chart right here. Suggesting this is from Merlin, I think Merlin the trader. Ethereum shorts all-time highs. Do you think that this is because a lot of times, as I mentioned earlier, when everybody's going one direction, the market tends to upset the most people, and basically, you get a massive sort of counter trade that ends up being great. But we also saw Standard Chartered today basically reduce their target from 10K to 4K for Ethereum. And we're seeing this, exponential sort of shorts all-time highs on Ethereum. Are we potentially in a scenario where ETH really I don't think ETH is ever going to be dead, but very much underperforms this cycle because there's so much interest other places? What are you seeing on ETH?
It's hard to say, right? So Ethereum, in my opinion, it needs some sort of like bullish catalyst, and obviously the ETF wasn't the catalyst the same way it was for Bitcoin. ETH is down since that ETF launched, while Bitcoin is obviously up since its ETF launch. I think the catalyst that really Ethereum needs, first off, it needs stuff to be built on it, obviously, but it needs something like the RWA stuff, and then tokenizing the stock market, tokenizing the bond market. Like if all that started to happen, I think that would be good for Ethereum. I think that would definitely help Ethereum a lot, and that would be a huge bull case. But that's currently not happening. And if you think about it too, for the most part, I've been in crypto 8 years now or 7 years. After all these years, there's just nothing really built on Ethereum. I mean, there is some stuff, but it's mostly like the biggest utilization or use case for Ethereum is still just to make money, right? People use Ethereum to speculate. So if we start to see actual stuff built on it, that would be good. I think the biggest thing really for Ethereum so far to be built on it is the stable coins. So the stable coins have definitely helped, but anything else, it just hasn't come through. I mean, there are lending programs or lending products like Aave, but most of it just hasn't come through yet. And Ethereum is not really competing with the other chains. Ethereum is trying to be the most most secure and decentralized layer one smart contract chain. Other chains like Solana give up security to be faster and whatnot. So Ethereum is kind of in its own kind of space. I know people like to say, oh, well, Ethereum has all this new competition. The other coins or other chains are not trying to be like Ethereum. They want to be faster. They want to give up security. So it's a different ballpark. And I think if stuff is going to be built, if stuff is going to be put tokenized, it will be on Ethereum because Ethereum is the most secure. You want to be on the most secure layer one smart contract chain overall. So I think if that ever happens, that would be bullish for Ethereum, but we're not seeing it. I mean, there are some signs like with Ondo and BlackRock, and I think they had that Biddle project. It's like they have like $100 million of stables in there or something. Haven't heard too much about it though. Like I know there is evidence that BlackRock has flat out stated they wanted to tokenize everything. I think Larry Fink said that.
Yeah,
But
they had their summit. They had their summit February 7th, and their goal, I think they're going to do the top. I think it's going to be somewhat select, but the top 1,000 equities and commodities, U.S. Treasuries, stocks, bonds, and it's going to be global. But they have a massive amount of U.S. Treasuries in Ondo as well. We can actually see this right here. Let me pull this up. RWA.xyz. Sorry. Let's see. U.S. Treasuries. Here we go. $4.62 billion in treasuries. And I mean, it's just massive. It's up 21%.
Yeah, I think they want to tokenize everything. I mean, I'm not the expert in this, but I know I think it was a week or two ago, they announced that the NASDAQ wants to run 24/7.
Yep.
So I think they would want it on, if you're going to do that, you want it on a system that's super secure that can't be taken down because there's a higher risk, right? There's just a higher risk. They're used to their current system that runs Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or whatever, 9:30 to 4 o'clock. But if you want to start to run it 24/7, you would probably want to do it on Ethereum, on a smart contract chain if they're going to tokenize it. I mean, they keep saying they want to tokenize everything they're talking about. They have Ondo, and other products. They have Biddle. They mentioned they want to tokenize everything. So it's just a matter, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe one day we see that where they just come out and say, look, we're going to try to tokenize, or our plan is to tokenize everything on Ethereum. And then I think that would be good for Ethereum. I think Ethereum would finally have like a clear bull case. So that's probably what Ethereum really is needing or waiting for at this point. Obviously, there are people buying Ethereum, like Trump's been buying Ethereum, and there probably is a reason for that. I would say I don't think I would think they would know if that's coming down the pipeline. If something's coming down the pipeline, that would be like my speculation, that they probably have like insider information. They know that eventually everything's going to be put onto Ethereum, the whole stock market. So that would be the case for that. If we go back, let's see what else we could look at. Oh, you know what I was going to pull up? I wanted to talk about the trueflation. So a lot of the Fed policy as we go into the FOMC is based on the CPI.
Do you have it on
and
this tab, or is it there? You go. Yeah.
Right here. So trueflation actually is interesting. Wish there was a way. I don't know if you want to load it up, the trueflation, and then just the regular CPI off of like the. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's off of the Fed's website. It looks pretty much identically the same, except trueflation kind of front runs it or is updated sooner. But regardless, it basically shows that the CPI, or the inflation, in the United States is definitely crashing now at this point. So if you like compare essentially trueflation is way ahead by a month or so. So by the time I think the next CPI update is out, inflation, or the CPI, should be close to 2%. And the following update, which would be in May, would be, I think, below 2% at that point if trueflation is accurate. Trueflation is down to 1.3%. If you go back to where it was at the start of 2024, it was at what, like 2 point, go up a little bit higher.
This is January 2nd,
Or
2024.
go more to the right then. It was around what was the high for the month? Oh, that's
March.
March.
Yeah.
Oh no. 2025. My bad. March. Go to January 2025. Yeah, so it was around 2.9%. And if you load up the CPI, let me see if I can load this up here.
Yeah, about 3%.
Yeah, if you load up the CPI was also around 3% in January as well. So if this is accurate, that inflation is essentially crashing now, that would give the Fed. So the Fed's essentially been waiting for CPI to go below 2% or get back to 2% to kind of change their monetary policy stance. So if that does end up happening, where we see CPI crash over the next update or so, then yeah, I would think that would favor that QT is going to end soon. I don't know about when the rate cuts would be. I know that they're probably expecting 3 rate cuts now this year. I think the betting odds say.
Well, we have the FOMC meeting starting tomorrow, and then Wednesday they have the announcement. It's probably going to be 0 again, but then their next FOMC meeting is in May. So I would guess that earliest would be in May, maybe in June. I think if they say it's not going to happen until June, it'll probably be more aggressive. Like what they'll start moving more aggressively after that. But if I had to guess, I think they'd start with like a 0.25% rate cut in May, or hold off till June and do like a larger one, like a 0.5% or something like that.
Yeah, I would have to check the betting odds, but you know it's crazy. The betting odds haven't been the best either with that stuff. I know most of last year people kept saying like, oh, they're going to cut rates. They're going to cut rates like early 2024, and they never did. And then finally in September they did. And I think at that point the betting odds weren't really favoring it, and then it happened. So a lot of things shifted. If you look at the CPI, so if we go back to January, it was at 3.1%. So the CPI was at 3.1%. And trueflation was at 3% in January. So this was pretty much accurate, right? And then it went down. It's been going down since. But if trueflation is accurate, then I can't, for some reason. Hold, let me try to minimize this a little bit.
Yeah, it's shaped weird on your computer.
Yeah, I just minimized this. So if we go here, this was so January was at 3%. If this is accurate, that's down to almost 1.7% now. This should show up over the next two readings that this is below 2%. I don't think it'll be at the April one or next month's update, but I think it'll be the early May update when they update it. And that would be for, I think, April. They update like May, probably May 10th or May 11th, usually the beginning of May, they would do it. And that'd be for the April one. So if that is the case, then the Fed would be happy that the CPI is finally at their target. It's reached their target. So we'll have to watch this. But this has been pretty accurate, even over the. Let me see if we can go back. I think the high up here was around 11.5%. And if you go back to this one, this got up to the CPI got up to approximately 9.1%, and that was in June of 2022. While this was, let's see, this was also June of 2022, so it topped at the same time. So this is pretty accurate, I would say. This is, if you look over this, it's not identical, the numbers. It's in a close range though, but it shows the trend direction. Like this shows that over the past month or so, or really, I guess you could say since I guess when Trump took over, CPI has been crashing, or the inflation's been crashing. It was up here and it's been going down. So if this is accurate, then yeah. I would say that gives the Fed the leeway to make the changes if they want to, or if they feel it's necessary.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, it's. I think right now everybody's just kind of in a bullish hope. I don't want to say hopium; it's the wrong word. There's a bullish hope right now in the markets that this is all something that's going to get reset soon. Like this bearishness is just a pressure that we're hoping is needed to get the Fed rate cuts, and it doesn't stem, sort of bloom into something that's more downward pressure on markets. That's only we can only know that in time as things progress, because Putin's meeting with Trump tomorrow. So what's going to happen there is if they do come to not only a ceasefire but like an end of
Where's he
war type
meeting
of
with
thing.
him?
What's that?
Where's he meeting with it? He's
I
meeting
don't
in
know.
person with him.
I don't know. I just know he's meeting. It might even be
Uh,
on the
I,
phone. I don't know. But they're going to
okay.
discuss some pretty big things. Remember that war with Ukraine's been going on for a while. Could that bring a little more certainty? Are the tariffs going to go live actual on up April 2nd, or is all that going to bring people to the table? And that doesn't happen. There's a little bit of a waiting game we have to play right now. But my conviction is still as such that especially with the crypto markets, I think that we're very ripe for opportunity right now, and at these prices or anything lower than this, I think is just an excellent buying opportunity for those that can be patient. If you buy and it drops and
Yeah.
you're going to sell because of that, then it's not the right time for you. But I'm very
Someone said
bullish
something.
about the setups coming into the market right now. It's just taking advantage and being patient right now until a full reversal actually sets up.
Someone said so many things to try and keep up with now as well. And yeah, it does feel like that. But you could also just look at the chart in front of you as well. Like some people, there's always going to be noise, I'd say. I personally don't pay attention to pretty much any sort of noise or news, but I know it does kind of factor in, especially the macro stuff. But there's always going to be noise, I feel like. So, and every cycle is different. And I was saying this in my Patreon Discord before, but if you go back to even last cycle, when this happened back in March of 2020 for Bitcoin, everyone thought it was over. If you were around then, I'm sure, Kelly. Everyone's like, "Oh, the whole structure's broken. Everything's broken," because everyone was comparing it to this point. If you go back here, so this was March of 2020. You go to March of 2016. Uh, at this point, Bitcoin was moving up, right? It wasn't crashing, but here it was crashing. So I remember during that time, a lot of people thought like the whole cycle was completely destroyed. This was not going to play out the same. It was over, right? Everyone said this cycle is different. It's over. It's not going to end up the same. And then what happened? It still ended up playing out the same. So despite things happening, it still does. I would say things are going to be different. There's always going to be curveballs every cycle. Everyone likes to look at last cycle and, because it ended up playing out the same in the end, that it was basically the same as 2017, but it definitely wasn't. It definitely played out much differently. There was curveballs on the way. It had this early run back in 2019, then this crash, this like 9-month bear market for Bitcoin. And then it took off from there. So things definitely there's always surprises essentially. And the surprise this cycle really, I guess you could say Bitcoin hasn't been, on the same pace as it was as last cycle at this point. I think in, what was it? March of 2021, Bitcoin was at $56,000. So it was up 3x basically from the 2017 high, and right now it's basically only up like what 10 or 15% from the 2021 high. So yeah, it's been a little bit different for Bitcoin. It's been a little bit different for the alts as well, but the path has always been different, but the results typically have been the same. And the people that ignored this stuff like back here in 2020 when this crashed, if you just buckled in and didn't make a move or just held what you had, you still end up doing well in the end. But of course there's always a possibility things don't play out the same. There's always that there's always a chance that things could end up being different. So I just want to zoom in a little bit one more time. Let me see if there's anything else. I guess we're pretty much just waiting now at this point for the FOMC on Wednesday. There's not like much to say here. It's just kind of consolidating and chopping here. Yeah, I don't really see too much. A lot of the alts, I was talking to someone as well in my Discord. A lot of the alts are like on high time frame support. So this is not, yeah. So if you look at like CRV, for example, he had mentioned it. This is essentially, right, the risk to reward here is not too bad because the reward is high, but there's a clear invalidation level for a coin like CRV. If it broke below this level, this was around, let's say like 36 cents, you could get out, right? Because then it's at risk of going down here. But on the flip side, the upside is a lot higher. So even though a lot of alts have crashed over the past month, the risk to reward here is a lot higher now because a lot of them are just sitting on major support. I think, let's see, another one was WIF as well. I mean, a bunch of them have this type of structure, but here's like another example, sitting on high time frame support. If it recovers, it goes up 10x. If it loses this level, it goes down 10%, then you can get out. So the risk to reward here is actually pretty good for a lot of these alts here. Clear invalidation levels that they're basically sitting close to. So if they go below, you could, put a stop loss in and get out, or you can hold it, buy it here, and then if it ends up recovering, you're looking at insane returns here. So this is definitely like, there's a lot of opportunity right now, believe it or not, even though it doesn't feel like that. And obviously the sentiment is completely crushed. I think last Monday, I think I said this last week when we did the video, that was the worst I've seen on Twitter. I've been on Twitter for probably 8 years. I had never seen that many posts of people basically saying they have lost everything. I didn't see that in 2022. I didn't see that even in 2020. There were so many posts, and I don't know if it was like the Twitter algos kind of pushing those types of posts, but there was posts that got like 4K, 5K likes of just people saying, look, I completely ruined, I lost everything. I lost millions of dollars, $5 million, $4 million. And it was like mind blowing to me, but that's usually what you want to look for, right? You want to see those types of stories, those types of signs of people that got really, really greedy, end up losing everything. That's what you usually would see at a bottom. And I've never seen anything like that on X before. I don't know if you saw like the same stuff last week, but my whole timeline was just literally just stories, and all the replies to those posts were just all a bunch of people that had made mistakes. And of course, it's an expensive learning lesson and not fun to go through. But those are like that's what you want to see.
Well, I mean, I think a big part of that is this chart right here on CoinMarketCap. Scrolling down, this is the last 90 days. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 coins that are up. And this is of the top 100. And this is, so 89 of the coins are just, look at this, minus 73%, minus 72.4, minus 72, minus 69, 69, 68, 68, 67. So everything outside of Bitcoin, large in part, people are like, I'm down. It's like, it feels, because it has been a sort of intermediary bear market for a lot of the coins while there's been such uncertainty in the market. But again, if the future is blockchain and some, not all, of these are going to be integrated, and we're not going to know this year, there's still the speculative hope in all these, in that if these are down so much, find the ones that you do your own diligence on them that excite you. A cross section of this as well as the made in USA coins, as well as if you like the RWA niche or the AI niche or something else, in particular, then this is giving you a good map that there's a lot of great buying opportunities out there. That if you felt like you were, falling behind, great example, Injective. If you felt over here like you're falling behind at 52, oh my God, I didn't get enough. And it's at $9.90. This should be making you scream, oh my God, this is, you're getting into a great opportunity zone. And this is just like you just pointed out, Matthew, came right down to this previous range high. See,
Yeah,
Sui came right down
yeah.
to the previous range high.
Sui and Injective are like at great, I'd say like really great buying zones, right? You could buy here, and if it slips a little bit further, then you get out. But if it holds and it holds support, it's this, it has a lot of potential upside. I think there was like
Yeah,
some
and I
news
mean,
for INJ actually I saw before. I don't know what it was. I'd have to look. Something about I think Injective's tokenizing. Let me see if I could. I saw this on my phone before, but I didn't really take a look. Yeah, they're tokenizing assets. That's interesting, I guess. So that goes into like the RWA type of stuff.
right, but
But
then they
yeah,
also have AI tools and integrations with them as well. So it kind of straddles two different narratives there.
yeah, it is AI too as well. And this was one of like INJ, for example, was one of the coins. Let me go back or go to the larger time frame. This coin was in a massive bull market from approximately January of 2023. It was around $1.20, $1.23, went all the way up to $52. And this was March of 2024. So this has been in a year-long bear market. And that's like the interesting thing for the market. Like last cycle, when everything, like when Bitcoin was in a bull market, everything was in a bull market. When Bitcoin was in a bear market, everything was in a bear market. But now we're seeing coins go into bull markets. And then going into bear markets while Bitcoin is in a bull market. And we also even thought we even saw Ethereum. Ethereum actually started its bull market before, or I don't know if you want to call it bull market, but it's uptrend. Way back here, this was June of 2022. So Ethereum started to make its move upward way earlier than Bitcoin. Bitcoin didn't bottom until here. This was November 2022. This was the FTX crash. So Ethereum actually was in a bull market or an uptrend while Bitcoin was in a bear market. So things are definitely kind of different, right? They're not all the same anymore where everything is, aligning together. So that also could possibly mean like if Bitcoin enters a bear market, it doesn't mean that everything is going to enter a bear market as well, because we can look back to last cycle where Ethereum was in a bull market. Ethereum was seeing upside while Bitcoin was going down. It doesn't really like, it sounds weird. It doesn't make sense, but there's an example of it. And then for the past few years, we're just seeing this now where coins are going into massive bull markets and then going into a year-long bear market. Things are definitely different. It feels more like that the crypto market is kind of turning into like how the stock market is, where you have like the leading things or the leading stocks, but then there's different stocks that are like looking different, right? If you look at the stock markets or stocks across, there's stocks that are basically still at their bottom. They look like they're starting to come out. Then there's other stocks that are like way up. They've been flying for the past year.
Well, I mean, crypto,
So
I think in the previous few cycles was this overwhelming technological speculative hope. And this cycle, it's like, okay, but what niches are getting the mind share, right? Because you had the little AI little run up, you had the RWA run up, you've had the meme kind of intermediary cycles throughout all of it. So it's feeling like it's getting more categorized in terms of how liquidity is being attributed, but it's definitely exciting. And this is why we look at the markets every day, because we've all seen in the matter of 48 hours. I mean, look at November 4th versus November 7th. The markets had two entirely different narratives about the bullish or bearish trend within 48 hours. So, I'm excited about what's happening, because as frustrated as I am as a bull, I want everything to go up now. I'm also going to be so much more excited now when the bull does come, because I've been stacking into these dips and I have the patience to carry it through. But we got to get running here in a second. Matt, I appreciate you coming on.
yeah, it was fun. We'll have to do it again next week, and hopefully Kevin is here.
Yeah, we got to go and
Yeah,
shake him and wake him up. Everybody, you can follow Matthew here at Matthew Highland. That's 2 T's. Make sure you're spelling these things correctly, because all of us influencers have a never-ending
fake
onslaught of
accounts.
fake impersonator accounts. So make sure you're following him, Matthew Highland _ You can also find his YouTube, and you can log into his Coinbase account right now. I'm just joking. He's also a partner with Coinbase Gemini, but he's got a Patreon as well. So make sure you go. He shares great content all day, every day as well. So make sure you check that out. Also, I do want to do a shout out. Make sure, one of my friend of mine in the space puts out great content. It's not all crypto. Sundays, he does basically, I don't want to say motivation, just open conversation, stream of consciousness, what's going on in the world, as well as markets, as well as strategy. Go give Gary Cardone a follow here at Gary Cardone. And then, of course, our friends and compatriots, Investing Bros. You can find them at Investing Bros. That is with the Z. And then this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, I will be on Sin City Crypto. You can find them at Sin City Crypto. So make sure you go give them a follow. And then, of course, I will be, after this is wrapped, I'm going to be doing a member stream this afternoon at about 3:45. So you can log into to that. If you're a member, you just need to make sure you're subscribed here, click the join button, or sign up on that link that I'll share it right here. I forget where it is. I think I deleted it. It's lab.bitlabacademy.com/deal. You'll see that as this stream wraps. Make sure you hit that like button. If you turn on your notifications, I'm going to tell you a secret. If you're not a member, I'm telling you right now, just make sure you're subscribed. Turn on all. I will leave it open to the public for you to join in the first 5 to 8 minutes that it is up. So if you have your notifications on, you will see when that gets posted. And then if you're in there already, when I set it back to unlisted to just for members, you'll be able to stay in there and watch it. So, but big love to each and every one of you. Again, I hope you have a wonderful day. These markets, it's not frustrating when you look at the longer term picture. It is so exciting about everything that's going on here. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And Matthew, I always appreciate you coming on. I appreciate our friendship, and I can't wait for Bitcoin Vegas, baby.
Yep. I'll see you there. It's good to have you on.
Of course, brother. I'll see you later, my man. Yep. Adios, everybody.
Take it easy.